body instantly clean. But, the book was really playing, even as a kid, on that desire for the instant fix. And I think all we have to do is back ourselves up a little bit. There's really very little in life that we can do instantaneously. Okay, I've got a very young son. He's, I get the months mixed up. I think 15 months. He was born January, so January, February. Okay, so he's 15 months old, going to be 16 months old. And so he's learning how to walk, right? Well, now you and I as adults, it doesn't take any kind of brain power for us to walk. It's just instant. We get up, we walk. But listen, this little guy, has taken months to learn how to do something that we take completely for granted and most of the time don't even think about. Okay, so it's not that we instantly learned how to walk. We just learned how to walk relatively quickly compared to how long we've been alive. I mean, most of us who've been walking the planet for 20 or 30 years now, or 40 years, some of us, I know that I've talked to 70 years, it seems like, well, I've just always walked, and we don't have a conscious idea of how long it took. Now, let me sort of make this very realistic for you in another way. I remember a TV show, I think it was called A Man with a Million Faces, and this guy could download stuff into his brain and then do it. And I remember one episode, he downloaded the ability to drive a Formula One race car, and they had some mission he was on, and he had to learn how to do this very quickly. Now, normally this guy had to go through, I think, a 24 or 48 hour period where this information would percolate into his brain, and then he could actually use it. So he would download the ability to drive this Formula One car, and then 2 days later he could go out and use it. Well, of course, they were under some kind of time crunch, and we've got to do this right now. So he downloads it, he gets into the car, and he's all over the place. I mean, he looked like he'd had about 15 Mai Tais. And of course, everybody's laughing at him. The people he was supposed to be infiltrating thought he was a fake. Then somehow everything connected and he could drive. I think afterwards his brain blew up or something. I don't really remember. But the bottom line was it took some time for the information to get into his brain and actually be usable. And the same thing is going to apply for you to get these trading powers. Now, the punchline of all of this is, once you're logged onto the website and you're looking at the video, that's about 32 seconds. Okay, that's where the 32 seconds comes in. So it's going to take you about 30 seconds to get onto the website where you can look at my trading video where I go over in detail what I want to do. But it's the same thing as that guy who's trying to download this information in his brain. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're not familiar with the words that I'm using, if I start firing off things like flag, a pennant, or Fibonacci, or 618 retracement, or tunnel pattern, or a sneak attack, if you're not familiar with the information, it's going to sound like gibberish to you. I might as well be talking in Russian or Swahili, okay? So we've got to put some perspective on this. Yes, it's possible for you to get these powers very, very quickly, but in order to be able to use them, it's going to take a little bit of time. Now, the first things first is we've got to be able to get the information into your head. Now, I'm going to take right now and give you probably the biggest shortcut in learning in your entire life. In fact, you probably would have had a much more pleasant time at school if they just would have shared these few things with you, because it deals with actually the physical way that our brains learn. So, if you want to learn something quickly, and I mean literally, if you want to take something and virtually put it into your mind by osmosis, there are very few things that you have to avoid and just a few things that you have to do. Okay? First of all, you want to avoid sitting too long. And I mean literally sitting. Most of us, we sit down, we plop down, and we figure, okay, I'm going to go through all these videos by Mac, and I'm going to run through them all tonight. And, but before you've known it, you've gone through probably 6 hours of information. It's practically midnight. You're bone tired. You feel like you're ready to, strike a match on your mouth because it's so dry. You haven't taken a water break. You haven't gone to the bathroom. You're just miserable. That's not the way to do it. Your brain literally has a physical limit with how much information you can put in it at one time. You also want to avoid, and this is something, if there are any teachers on the line, you're probably going to be shocked. You don't want to take notes. Now, I'll qualify that in a minute, but you don't want to take notes, and here's why. If you